Hi! Welcome to Books, Tea and Biscuits on Halloween.
The spooky edition.
Spooky
Look
edition.
at our minions. We've got loads of minions.
We're going batty.
Yeah, she's already gone.
Okay, we've got our cauldron full of tea.
Yeah, we've got our cauldron. Show yours as well.
Yeah.
Exactly the same cauldron.
Cauldron.
She's teaching me, you see.
Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah.
And I've got a hand. So, you know, if I need any help, I've got a hand.
She's got a hand.
Today we're going to be reviewing Winterwood.
By Shea, Earnshaw.
We've both read that,
Yeah.
so we're both going to be discussing that.
Joe's got the physical copy though, but I've read the ebook because I can't find where my actual physical copy is. So this is Joe's copy, and mine's on my iPad, so I'll show you that in a sec. What are you trying to get, Joe?
I'm trying to get this one. And I've read approximately 4 short stories in here, which is the Supernatural Omnibus, which are various authors. So I'm going to put that back and you can...
And then, the short stories that I've read are from a book by Stephen King called The Skeleton Crew. And the 2 stories were The Reaper's Image and I think it's called There Be a Tiger or Here Is a Tiger. Or when we get to the actual review I'll read out the title to you. But I've read 2 short stories and the Winterwood by Shea Earnshaw, but the Kindle edition. So Joe's going to kick it off with the short first or Winterwood?
The short one.
Okay.
The 2 short ones I read which were by Charles Dickens, and a couple of others I read, and I can't remember the name of the authors, but they'll be in there and I'll tell you when they are when I come to them. The first one I'm going to talk about is called The Signalman. And that was by Charles Dickens, which surprised me because, you know, I don't think I've been writing like spooky stories like that. It starts off it's still interesting. You've got a signalman and he's all on his own, and this chappie comes along, sees him and shouts, "Hello," and asks him if he can come down and see him. Now this chappie, after he said hello, is a bit uncertain, and he meets the guy every night. He comes down to talk to the signalman, and the signalman keeps telling him that he sees something. Now just down the way from where he stands to do the signals for the train, there's a red light, and he says that he keeps seeing a man by this red light, and when he looks at him, the guy by the red light does this, puts his hand over his eye, and it's really spooking him out. And he keeps looking out. He goes into his little signal box with this chappie and they chat and, you know, whatever. And he says, every time I've seen him, there's been a death. Either a train comes off the rails or somebody dies on the train. And he says, and I can't signal and tell them because I can't tell them anything. They're going to say, why is it an emergency? And I'm going to say, I don't know. And they're going to think I'm stupid and they'll put me in the funny farm. And this goes on for a while. And it's only 12 pages, this story, but there's a lot in it. And the chap comes down the one day and there's police and railway personnel and no signalman. And the signalman, the person he kept seeing, was himself.
Oh.
It's really good. He dies, obviously, he dies.
Yeah.
And when they're telling this chappie how he died, he got in the way of the train. He was trying to stop a train, and the guy who was driving the train looked and went like that, and it was himself, and he died. It's really good, quite spooky. In fact, other than one of them, they were all very good. That one I gave a 4. There is one I give a 3. because although it's supposed to be spooky, it's boring.
Was that Charles Dickens as well?
No.
I'm going to say good because I like Charles
No,
Dickens.
this was supposed to be a demonic type of one, and it's called The Bargain of Rupert Orange, and it's very boring, really boring. There is another Charles Dickens one called The Engineer.
Yeah.
Follows on from The Signalman, but it doesn't. And there's another one which is called, which I think is Charles Dickens again, and it's called Taken with a Pinch of Salt. So, do you want to do your Stephen
let me just
King
get
one,
the
and then I'll
title
do...
of the tiger first. Let me get the title of the tiger one second. So the Reaper's image is on page. It's me being unprepared. I've just come from work, so I'm in a kind of a rush. Right, so the tiger one is actually called, Here There Be Tigers, and it's on page 191, The Skeleton Crew, which is a compilation of short horror stories or short scary stories by Stephen King. And it's The Skeleton Crew is actually the compendium that includes The Mist. The Mist is a 190-page story, so I didn't read that one, but I did read Here There Be Tigers and The Reaper's Image. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Here There Be Tigers. Now this is a 32-page story, I think. Yeah, it was about 32 pages. And there is a lot in it, like Joe's one was, but it's going to sound daft, but it really scared me. Because not that these stuff can happen, but from the get-go, you can tell that the little child in the story was scared. So what happened was, there's this boy in school, and he's got this horrible teacher, this lady, and I can't remember her name, but she scares all the children. And this one day he's in school, and he really is bursting for the toilet, and she never lets the kids go to the toilet, and the toilets, when they do go, they're in the basement, the toilets are. And the one day, obviously she lets him go, but she really shouts at him, and he goes to the toilet, and he creaks the door open, and he can't see anything instantly, but he can feel that there's something there. And he's walking around the toilets, and he has this feeling that he's already scared anyway of the teacher, but he's in the basement going to the toilet. He's about 10 or 11 years old, and so he goes into the boys' toilets, and the toilets are like an L shape, so you go in, and then you've got your urinals around the corner, and on this wall here you've got your sinks and your hand wash and things like that. So for him to go to the toilet, he has to go round the corners around the L. When he goes round the corner, he sees his tiger in the bathroom, so he doesn't walk as far. He comes back out, and he contemplates going into the girls' toilets, and he doesn't realise how long he's been. So he's contemplating that he's about to go out of the boys' toilets and go into the girls' toilets, because he doesn't think there's a tiger in there. And then all of a sudden the door opens, and in walks his friend, and he tells his friend, "Don't come any closer, there's a tiger." Now his friend doesn't believe him, and his friend goes around the corner. Now the tiger hasn't done anything to the boy to invoke that he's aggressive or anything or violent, but his friend walks around the corner, and then he just disappears. But you don't hear the tiger crunching or biting or anything. Obviously you'd hear bones breaking, wouldn't you? Doesn't hear anything. And his friend's just gone. And then obviously it's taking even longer now. Hello Maisie, she just looked up at me like this. She's just there, look. So it's even more now, so it's longer. And then he hears footsteps in the hallway. And door opens again, and in walks his teacher, proper shouting at him, saying, "I've sent your friend down here to come and get you. Where is he?" And again, nobody believes him that there's a tiger in the bathroom. And she again goes around the corner, and this time she screams, and then she goes. And the boy comes out of the toilet and just goes into class, and then they never hear of the friend or the teacher again. Well, how weird is that?
I know.
Why is there a tiger in the bathroom? And why in the why is it?
And what's it doing?
Yeah, exactly. And why in a kid's school
is it a portal?
Toilets in the bathroom? You don't find out. You don't say, because it just ends once the teacher's eaten. I'm going to do eaten in quotation marks. Once the teacher's eaten, Like, the story comes to an abrupt end. That's it. He just goes back to class, never speaks of it again. And that was in the 32-page story, and I'm like, I wasn't awake all night, but it left me with this funny feeling, like, are there portals on this planet? You know that feeling you get. You see someone out of the corner of your eye, or you feel like someone's behind you. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Look, was that tiger a ghost? Was it real? Did it actually eat people? Why couldn't you hear it eating?
Yeah, you'd hear it attack him.
Like, rah! Do you know what I mean? They hear the pound. He didn't hear it. So I really liked it because Stephen King's got a way of writing anyway. Like, he'll suck you in from the first word, won't he?
Yeah.
And this is actually my first delve into Stephen King. I've never read any of his books before. No, I've only watched like the film adaptations of the books, but I've never read any of his books. So
books are always best to read.
I was really struggling to find what to read because there's a lot of horror stories I've read. I'm like, God, they're so boring, or they're really old. So obviously they're written different to what we used to, and I'm like I couldn't read The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson.
No.
And I found that really boring, but the TV adaptation obviously modernised, isn't it?
Very good.
Because I have got a lot of horror stories, but again I've already read them or I find them really boring. So someone suggested to me, why don't you get Stephen King or pick up a compendium of his short stories? So that's what I've done. I say pick up, I brought it on Kindle, so I've read it again on my Kindle just because again I'm trying to save the planet and not avoid consumerism where I can and not have as many copies of books. So I couldn't find it in the charity shop for second hand, so I actually brought it on my iPad.
And what do you give it?
I'll give it 3.5 out of 5, and that's just because it is a horror. It does scare me, but I found it kind of silly at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because the back tiger in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And why the toilets in the basement.
I know.
And you don't get any
an
more
old
detail.
school as well.
Exactly. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'd read it again definitely, and I can't wait to delve in and read more. I'm just sad I didn't have more time because obviously for both of us October's been a busy month, hasn't it? But yeah, I'll give it 3.5 out of 5. So thank you for that one, Stephen King.
So this chap whose name you don't know, I'm assuming as I say that it's Charles Dickens because he wrote it, is looking out the window at the hustle and the bustle of everything that's going by. It's a very busy street and it's like a town. And his attention is taken by 2 specific men. Doesn't know them from Adam. But the one is walking very, very fast and he keeps looking over his shoulder. And the other one is definitely following him. And he looks very menacing. And they carry on and they go out of his sight. Well, while he's in his room, his manservant's there, and all of a sudden the door to his bedroom opens, and the second guy, who he saw, beckons to him.
Okay.
And he's sort of, what the? And his manservant saw it as well. And they think nothing of it. And then that night when he goes to sleep, he's dreaming of these 2 guys. And particularly the second one. And then the next day he gets a summons to go to court. He's got to be on the jury.
Yeah.
And he goes, you know, it's not something he actually wanted to do, but he goes. And when he goes in, he sees the accused. And the accused, it's a murder case. And it's the first man he saw. And he's been accused of murder. And this guy, when he sees him, they don't know each other at all, whispers something to his lawyer. And it turns out that the guy had whispered to his lawyer, I don't want him on the jury. He's got it against me. He doesn't like me. And when his lawyer said, what's his name? He said, don't know him. I just know he doesn't like me. So, of course, because he doesn't know him, they can't say...
You can't be on the jury.
He can't say nothing, so he doesn't tell the court that his client didn't want that chap who was going to be jury foreman. So they're listening to the case, and every night when he goes home, he's having these very weird dreams, very strange dreams. And then when it comes to the end, I mean, it's quite involved, and it's a few extra pages. I think it's 19 pages. But the very last line of the story is what actually scares you.
What does it say? Tell us.
They find the guy guilty of murdering the second chap, even though when they were being followed, it was the second guy who was following the first guy, but the first guy had murdered the second guy. You don't know, it doesn't tell you, but that they're hearing it. And afterwards, when the judge says to the accused, "Do you have anything to say before I pass the death sentence?" And he says, "I knew that my days were numbered because that man came into my room and put a noose round my neck."
Which man?
The foreman, who he didn't want on the jury.
That's so strange.
And he dreamt that he'd come into his room and put a noose round his neck, so he knew he was going to be found guilty. And when he had that dream, the guy had dreamt that the second man had come in and beckoned to him.
And is this a Charles Dickens?
It's a Charles
Yeah,
Dickens.
of course it is. I love Charles
It's
Dickens.
really good, but that last line is what really scared me. It really did.
Oh, that sent the shiver down my spine.
Yeah, it's really spooky.
How many ghosties out of 5?
I gave that 5.
5.
Yeah, 5.
Wow.
Particularly because of that last line, it was really spooky.
Okay. Well, thanks for that, Joe. Mine's going to be a little different because I only finished reading it yesterday, The Reaper's Image, so I have got a review on my notes on my phone, so I'm going to be looking at my phone while I'm talking about it, but this is one that I gave 5 out of 5 as well because it utterly scared me, this one. Yeah, I'm not somebody that easily scares because I love horror and anything like that. Like I always say to Jack, I can't wait for Halloween or I can't wait to watch like I went to see Saw 10 on my own, the nighttime preview, and I don't care about, I'm not easily scared, but this was like, I didn't want to be in the house on my own, put it that way, and I covered up all my mirrors. Not that I have many, so I'm just going to read my notes. Bear with me 1 second, guys. So The Reaper's Image is a short story which Stephen King says he wrote when he was only 18 years old. And obviously then I was eager to try out some of the earlier writing. Again, new to Stephen King, never read any of his before. So obviously The Reaper's Image didn't disappoint with it being a horror. It is a very short story, only a few hundred locations on Kindle. I think it's 33 pages, this one. So The Reaper's Image basically is about an antique collector called by the name of Johnson Spangler, and he visits a museum, and it's a Samuel Claggett museum. So it's a museum which is filled with tat and obviously the occasional rare and valuable piece, but apparently it's mostly tat. His visit in this story surrounds a finely crafted mirror, one of only a handful left in the world, made by artist an Elizabethan craftsman by the name of John Delver. Now, the mirror does have a sinister reputation anyway, and it's said that people who gaze into it, the image of the Reaper will appear standing close by them. You can see why I'm scared. The Reaper's Image tells the tale of the mirror and the unknown fates of those who look into its depths. King does well to convey the pure horror of one man and the sheer unbelieving, sceptical nature of another.
You've moved. You might not see.
No, I haven't moved the chair, I've moved my body.
Okay.
I have this thing where I unintentionally move the chair and then I go out of frame. But this time, my hip is literally on Joe's hip, I can't get any closer to her. But yeah, she goes, "Can you move?" But no, I'll just turn my body because I felt weird turning my head and talking to you.
Okay.
So he obviously looks in this mirror and he sees the Reaper's image behind him. Okay. Obviously brings across a range of emotions surrounding the mirror and gives the reader a tantalising problem that is never solved. What happens to those that look in the mirror once they've seen the Reaper's image?
Do they die?
Well, you don't know. Something happens to them, they disappear, but you don't know.
Oh.
That's the thing. It's only a 10-minute read, but so Jackson goes to this museum. It's full of tat, or what he thinks of tat, and he finds an Elizabethan mirror, and I think he's looking for it specifically because he's heard that it has this reputation that the mirror's haunted. Okay, so when he does find it, and it is by this artist, John Delver, he looks into it and he does see the Reaper's image. And it's 10 to 15 minutes, basically a roller coaster ride, because all this stuff starts happening, and then bang, he's gone. But you don't know if he died, you don't know if he's disappeared, you don't know if he's broken the mirror, but he does take the mirror home. Yeah. What was that?
A bat.
The bat's falling down. Let's just leave it. It's gonna be any much longer. But yeah, one of our bats are falling down. So yeah, you don't know what happens to the character. It's just a 10 to 15 minute roller coaster ride. But because you see the image in the mirror, it absolutely utterly scares me, because anything like that is like, oh, should I cover my mirror? It reminds me of the not the ring. What's it called when you say her name 3 times? I'm not going to say it.
Oh, the Crow?
No. Bloody Mary.
No, I've never heard that. And I'm
don't say it.
No.
But yeah, this one scares me, so I give it 5 out of 5, because well done, Stephen King, you've actually scared me this time. So you get 5 ghosties out of 5.
Okay.
And that's all I've read for my show. I only read 2. Yeah.
Well, the as I say, the other 2, the one is very boring, so I'm not going to talk about that one.
You're never going to read that one again. You regret reading it because it's a waste of your time.
I did, total waste of time.
How long did it take you to read?
About 10 minutes.
10 minutes you're never going to get back.
Exactly. The third one is called The Engineer. And this is about 2 friends. They went to school together. They lived in the same country area. The one lad, his dad was a blacksmith, so he was a bit more, high up because he was used a lot and they got more money. The other one was the son of a farmer, but they were best ever friends, and they'd been friends since little. And when they get older, the blacksmith's son, the blacksmith didn't want him to become a blacksmith, so he sent him away to college because he could afford it and the other one couldn't, so he worked as a farmer. But then he did end up going to become an engineer. His friend sent for him, got him out of there, and he trained as an engineer. So they used to work together. And there was a new line starting up in Italy. So the blacksmith's son was sent to be the guy in charge. Mm-hmm. And because he was the guy in charge, he was allowed to have 2 assistants, and one of them was his friend.
All of my witch's brother's gone now.
Oh dear. So they're in Italy and they're working hard and they're always together, and they go for walks, they have meals together, they're living in the same place, and there's a very beautiful woman. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Matthew and Benjamin, and I forget her name, but she's a cow. Anyway, she's playing one off against the other. Matthew is, I believe, the blacksmith's son.
Yeah.
No, Ben's the blacksmith's son, and Matthew is the farmer's son. And because of this woman, they both love her, and she keeps making out that she's going to marry one of them, and she tells Matthew that she will marry him. but she ends up marrying a titled gentleman, and it's all calculating. It's all, I will give you this, I will give you this home, you will have this money, and she marries him. And Matthew comes to tell Benjamin, and he says that she's just been playing us away, playing us off. She's married this lord or whoever he is, and they end up falling out. And Matthew gets stabbed. They have a fight, and unfortunately he gets stabbed by Benjamin, his best mate. He forgives him. He goes to hospital, he's with him all the time. He does start to improve, but he never gets better. His lungs are shot to hell, and he's gradually fading, but he's with him all the time. And he says to Benjamin, will you tell Gina that I forgive her for what she did, playing us off against the other? And he says, yes, I will. I'll tell him. Anyway, he dies, and Benjamin's beside himself. He becomes hard. He's not the same man he was. He doesn't go back to England. Well, he does for a bit, and he works here and there, and because he left his proper job, and he just goes here and there and works for this person or that person, and he ends up going back to Italy as a driver on a train.
Yeah.
And this one time, he's told by his superior that a titled gentleman is coming with his wife, and he says, will you, instead of stopping because there's been a flood, so instead of going to a particular station, they're supposed to boycott that station because it's flooded and it's dangerous, and go around a different route and stop at another station where then they will get off and get onto a different train. And he's told that he'll be given X amount of money if he ignores that and crashes the train, but he needs to get off himself. And when he finds out that she's on the train with her husband, he says, I'll do it for vengeance. I'll do it for nothing. I owe her. Because he's sworn that he would kill her for what she did to Matthew and him. So the guy says, fine, okay, brilliant. So he's going along, and he's on the train, and his engineer's with him, and he's stoking and making it go faster, and this poor engineer who's there, he's really scared, and he's going a bit fast. You're going too fast. We can't, you're going to crash. And he's just carrying on. And all of a sudden there's a third person on the footplate, and it's Matthew. And Matthew stops him from doing it. Matthew saved his life.
Yeah.
And he saved hers, because he didn't want him to risk his life by killing her. And nobody will believe him. Even the guy that was on the footplate with him, his actual coal shoveler, won't believe him, and he insists, at the end, that the man who saved my life was Matthew.
Wow.
It was really good, quite spooky, but it was really good.
Was it good?
Yeah.
Was that Charles Dickens?
No, that one wasn't. But it was really good.
Cool.
The boring one, I'm not even going to bore you with it.
How many ghosties did you give that one?
That one, 4.5, I think, because it didn't frighten me as much as the other one, but it is quite
spooky.
It is spooky. Yeah, it is quite eerie because it's a spook on the footplate. And
yeah. Wow. I thought he was going to crash it then, and she'd like.
Well, he was getting ready. No, he was getting ready to carry on, and even though he felt sorry for his the guy that was shoveling the coal in and all that, he felt sorry for him because obviously he was going to die as well, because he was just going to carry on, but Matthew stopped him. It was really good. It brought him to his senses. It's a good story, really good story.
So the next one we're going to review now is Winterwood, so I'm just going to pull it up on my Kindle so you can see. I have read it. 1 second. Don't really know how to use Kindle that much. There we go, Winterwood. I have read it.
There we are. I do like the book cover.
Me too.
I really do like that
isn't
cover.
it? It's like an overworld and an underworld, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. The thing with Winterwood, it's about a specific females of a specific family, the Walker family.
The Walkers, yeah. Laura is the main character.
She is, and every female of that family is a witch. And they do have a magic, but it's not called magic, it's called nightshade. So when you find out what your nightshade is, it comes to you when you're in deadly earnest. All her female counterparts and whatever have always been able to go into the dark wood.
Wickerwood, wasn't it?
Yeah, only when the moon's out and they have to say who they are to let the trees know, to let the forest know, and they're allowed in there. And she can find lost items. They always end up coming back to the wood, these lost items, and she's got all these lost items. And she doesn't know what her nightshade is. She doesn't think she's a witch. She wants to be a witch.
Yeah.
She's followed her gran. She's always been with her gran, and she's really broken-hearted that she lost her gran. And her mum wanted to escape that side of life. She was not into that. And she's out walking one time and she comes across this young boy who's almost dead. And she's also been bugged by a death moth. And it's really getting to everywhere she goes, this flipping moth is following her. And she takes this young boy home and she
finds him in snow though, doesn't she?
She does, yeah. And she can't believe, I mean, they all knew about a young boy because there's a school for
wayward boys.
Yeah. They, they've all done sorts of wrongs, and that's where they're taken to teach them a lesson and make them grow up and whatever. And everybody knows that a young man escaped, or a couple of young boys escaped, and one died, and they don't know where the other one is. And she's come across Oliver, and she's shocked to realise he's been in the wood for 2 weeks, and she can't believe that he's still alive, but he is. And she takes him back and she helps him, doesn't she?
Yes.
And that's when the story really starts. Because all sorts start to happen. When she went to school, she was like the weird one in the school, the one they sort of bullied or took the mickey of or made fun of. And one of the girls that used to do that, who got no time for her, all of a sudden wanted to be her friend.
Yeah, and Ollie doesn't think she's weird, does he?
No, he likes Nora.
Yeah.
He thinks she's great.
Yeah, likes her.
Likes her, and she's starting to get feelings for him. But she's also uncertain of her abilities. And he said, he mentions that you're a witch sort of thing, what can you do? And she's helped him with certain things, and she takes him back to the school, and this is when it gets strange, because he
doesn't want to go back, does he?
He doesn't know, but he does go back, and he lies on the bunk, which is the top bunk, in this dormitory, and nobody's talking to him. They're talking about it, but they're not talking to him, and he can't cope with it, can he?
No.
And he goes again. And he comes along to her and he says he's got nowhere else to go. So she takes him in, but she's also in the meantime got this girl in. What's her name?
Oh.
But she's going out with one of the wrong guns. The ones who Mickey take and call her a witch and pick on Nora. So she ends up, they end up breaking into somebody's summer house, don't they?
Yeah.
They're away, they only use it on holidays, it's like a holiday home, and they're having a party. They shouldn't be in there, it's not their home, they've broken in, they're having a party, and Nora thinks she can stop them. She has a wolf as a pet, and she goes there to try and stop them. It's a mistake she makes, because they realise she's there and they shut her in a room. and she tries to get out with the help of this girl who's supposedly a friend, and she won't help her because she's scared of the guy in charge of the boys that have gone from the school and decided to throw a party in somebody else's house. And she gets rescued by Oliver, doesn't she?
Yes.
And so once she's rescued by Oliver, she gets back to her home with Oliver, and things start then.
Mhm.
So there's all sorts happening. She's really getting bugged with this moth, this death moth. She thinks it's because she's going to die soon. So she's getting quite worried about that. She also finds out that she's under the impression, in actual fact, that Oliver killed the other boy. Because there was a boy that died and a boy that escaped, and she's all the stuff that says she's under this impression that Oliver murdered his schoolmate. Not that they were really friends, but murdered him. So she doesn't know whether to trust Oliver anymore, and she's got feelings for him, but she can't trust him, and she definitely doesn't trust the supposed friend anymore. She's become ill. She nearly drowned, and he saved her life, Oliver did. But then she gets pulled out of her home by these lads, doesn't she?
Yes.
He's not
It's
there.
fallen.
The wood decides to get its own back because they are taking stuff that's been lost in the wood, and they're just taking it, jewels and all sorts of stuff that's going on there. And the trees and the wood decide to get their own back on them, and because they're not happy, because the wood is trying to get its own back, they set fire to the trees. And she's told them not to do this, and the trees let the fire burn, but they also set fire to one of the lads. The tree branches tangle round his feet, and the whole of the wood is on fire and burning, and she and the rest of them are running to get away, including Oliver, running to get away from the wood, to get out of the flames, because it's around them, it's everywhere. They can't even go on the ice because it's melting, but she ends up on the ice, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And she ends up going under again. But a strange thing happens. Because she's never known what her nightshade is, she was told that when you really are in need, your nightshade will come to you. And her nightshade is going back into the past. So whatever happens, you stop it and you go back to the past, and you stop the thing from happening by changing it. It's a really amazing book. There's a lot involved. There's a lot more than that. Each page, when you come to the end of a chapter, there's a black page which tells you about one of her ancestors, what they were able to do, how long and what had happened to them. And it's sort of like the magic book that she's got has been handed down. So there's always little bits about previous witches, previous people in her family, who they married, what children they had. The thing is, with her, she lived a long time. She didn't have any issue, did she?
No.
There's no issue, so there's no actual ending about her. But when you know what she can do,
You know why?
you don't know how long she's lived for. I mean, it really is. It's a strange book.
I love the whole relationship you had with the grandma as well.
Yes.
And how, her mum didn't want to be involved in that side of the life.
Yeah.
And in my review, I focus more on the writing style as well, and how it's like very lyrical. So if I pull up what I've written when I read it, I've put, it follows obviously 17-year-old Nora, who comes from a long line of walkers, obviously women who are witches, and they're the only ones really who isn't affected by Wicca wood.
As long as they tell the wood
Yeah,
when
who
they
they
get
are,
there,
yeah.
she'll say, "I'm Nora Walker," and so they know who she is and they welcome.
Because once you step over the threshold, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I love the writing style. It's very lyrical, obviously very enchanting. It feels like you're there in the moment, doesn't it? And especially like when you get to the end of the chapter and you get that tidbit of information about the ancestors and about the family. I really like that because you find it makes you understand why she's like the way she is and why she collects all these little trinkets from the woods, like the jewels, and she finds like brooches and things, doesn't she?
The thing is, she loses her, because she was given her grandma gave her wedding ring.
Yeah.
And she loses it in the water. When she gets in the water, she almost, well, she sort of drowns, but Oliver saves her. But she lost the ring in the water, and she finds out and realises that everything that's lost in the water ends up in the wood.
Yeah.
And you don't know why. It doesn't explain. It's like the water carries it to the wood.
Yeah.
And so the wood has all the stuff, and it's very strange how that happens, isn't it?
Of course, and it reminds me of like the way it's told and the way it's written. It's like a dark fairy tale to me.
Yeah.
And I feel that just from the cover alone, you know that what you're going into when you read it, because it looks like it's a fairy tale, but it's like a dark fairy tale.
Yeah.
Obviously the setting's really nice with the house, and from Nora's perspective we find out all about that, and obviously the line of black trees, which is wicker wood. And obviously in the distance you've got the Jack Jewel Camp for Wayward Boys, I believe it's
That's
called.
right, yeah.
And the Black River. But again, with every book comes things that we don't like. So there's only one thing I didn't like, and it's some of the other characters, like especially the motivations of the characters. Like, I usually love dual perspectives, but as the chapters keep going, Nora, Oliver,
Yeah.
even though we know who's talking, I found that dual perspective constantly throughout the book, and I'm like, did I want that all the time? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And his amnesia didn't help because we didn't
That's
quite
right,
get the
because
whole.
yeah, he, you know, he'd been allowed to live. But had he, you know, he was the one. You realise that he's actually dead, and he was the one that was killed by the other boy, which is why nobody spoke to him when he went back, because they couldn't see him. But it's just so involved, isn't it? She suddenly realises, and it spooks her. But there's other characters in there, like the elderly man who deals with the boats. He's been there forever, but I don't think he gets enough. You know, he's three-dimensional, but you don't realise it. He doesn't get enough. You don't know how he got there. How come, you know, is he a walker? Is he a distant relative?
Yeah.
Because it's like
watches over him,
yeah, he does.
Sorry,
and he, you know, when the fires come in and Oliver and that girl have to go and get him away from there, and eventually he agrees to go with them, and she's running back up to rescue the idiot from the in the other place, the summer house. Matthew was his name. Matthew. Yes, it was.
Yes, Matthew. You can tell it's Halloween. The cat's on edge.
Yeah, she's really having a ball. But you just knew, didn't you, that he's obviously had some connection.
Yeah, there's some
with
background
her.
there.
Yeah, but you don't know what it is. He's not given that much.
Yeah, she doesn't go into much detail with that side of
Or
it.
with Matthew, I think there's not a lot. There could be more scope there. You could find out more, but you don't. I did get annoyed in respect that because the snow had fallen so bad and nothing could get in and nothing could get out, so the police couldn't come. So even though the boys were having a ball, breaking into people's houses, the police couldn't come.
Yeah.
And even though there was a boy that had been murdered and one missing, the police couldn't come. And I found that really unrealistic, because even though there's bad snow.
People can move it out of the way, and it's no
The fact that it's always been like that, they must have a way of getting through it. So I found that quite unrealistic.
One thing I didn't find unrealistic but found was quite a slow burner was the actual start of the book. Like,
yeah,
when she found Oliver and the whole of her, you know, pinning down the truth of how he survived in that wood when he's not a walker, and you know, unless you know that you have to speak to the wood and tell them who you are, it makes it very difficult for you. So with her pinning down the truth and how he came to be missing for that long and how he came to survive, you know, getting there, I felt like the first half of the book was quite slow, especially the chapter 1 when it's like 24-25 pages just explaining, you know, I know we need the detail about the family and about the wood and about Fairhaven, which is the town where Wickerwood is and where they live. I just found the beginning of it was quite slow. I think, you know, it didn't grab me from the first page. It took a while for me to get into the story.
Yeah, I found that. Normally, if one, I mean, we read it once before, didn't we?
Yeah.
I did enjoy it last time, but I enjoyed it more this time. But even that, I was thinking, oh, I've got 24 pages here.
Yeah.
And I thought, what?
It's because I find as well, like, some of the writing throughout the book is very repetitive, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Especially when, you know, they keep going on about the family and going on about, yeah, she's got this magic or this nightshade, but she doesn't know what it is. Yeah, we know that. Just get to the point. You know, how is he survived this? Are they going to fall in love? Do they have feelings for each other? What is her magic? How is she, you know, how is the story going to intermingle with the boys from the Jack Jill camp and with this girl who never liked her before but likes her now? It's all just really... Yeah, it does. I really liked it, but for me, it took me a while, even though this is the second time reading it, because again, like I said at the beginning, I don't know where my copy of the book's gone. I think after I read it the first time, I must have gave it to somebody to borrow or gave it to charity, I can't remember, but I had to buy it again on Kindle. As this is the second time reading it, I think the first time I read it, I think I had the same problem where it took me a while to get into it. I had to keep putting it down and, you know, pick it back up a little bit later on, because the first couple of chapters especially are quite boring for me. Just leave it. We don't have much love.
The bats are flying off.
Yeah. But yeah, how many stars do you give it?
I gave it 4.5. I would have given it 5, except for that first chapter. I mean, I know there was a lot in there which we did need to know, but then it just repeats itself and you think, but you've already told me that. And one or two things I'm thinking, hang on a minute, where does he come into it? Who the pig and hell's Matthew?
Yeah.
And because nothing's mentioned, you know there's another guy involved, but it just, in parts, it doesn't make sense, mainly because of his forgetfulness. Obviously he's forgotten what happened because he's dead, and he's forgotten he's dead. In fact, he doesn't realise he's dead. She finds that out, doesn't she?
Yes.
And they realise that the death moth was not following her around, it was following him around. But it is a good book. I do recommend it. I think because everything's coming out then, all the answers to all the questions, and the fact that she finds out what her nightshade is, I think that should have been the longer chapter.
And that all gets condensed down, doesn't it?
Because all the explanations could have come then, you know, how her family were and all that, instead of coming at the beginning. So that bit, I think...
I agree.
Yeah.
So 4 out of 5 from me, and 4.5 for Joe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really liked this video. You liked it. I think we had a laugh and the bats flew off. I'm not going to pick them back up.
No.
But that's the second time.
The cat's been having
the cat's on one as well. So we hope you enjoyed it, guys. I'll put some bloopers at the end, obviously with the bats falling down and me making a fool of myself again, probably for the 10th time this year in these videos.
Probably. And it's been spooky enough.
It's been spooky enough already with like Joe's fake hand. I think it feels weird touching it, but that's actually Joe's hand. That
is actually my hand. I made it.
It's like cast, wasn't it?
Yeah, I cast it in alginate, not gelatin, silicone.
Yeah.
And that's bone and sinew. I even painted the nail.
Yeah, she hasn't told anybody to get that.
No, this is definitely my hand.
Yeah, we hope you've enjoyed it, guys. Oh, my nails have got like blood on, you know.
Not yours.
I'm going to change them tonight, but we hope you've enjoyed it, guys.
Yeah.
What we're going to do now, we're going to discuss the November books, what we're going to be doing, and then once we finalise what we're going to be reading, I'll put the pictures at the end of this video just so you can see what we've decided on. Or we can put it on Facebook and Instagram and say this is what's to come. Just because I know November starts soon, but
not tomorrow.
But because there's two themes we can potentially look at here, which is obviously 1606, a gunpowder plot, and then you've got 1914 to 1918, World War One, so we can do things like that.
And World War Two.
And World War Two.
Because it is remembrance.
Sunday on the 11th.
Yeah. So
we haven't decided yet what our theme's going to be. Is it going to be a mixture of both? Are we going to read one book each of each theme? Or we haven't fully decided, which is why we can't say this is definitely what we're going to be reading, but we will let you know. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed it. Have a spooktacular rest of October and a spooktacular November as well.
Spooky.
Yeah, we're just sorry that we couldn't do this sooner because we've both been busy, especially me with obviously the last couple of weekends I've had. They've been an absolute nightmare. So we managed to read one full book and 2 short stories I have. November is looking promising. I don't really have much planned apart from work. I do, but Joe does, that's the thing. But I mean, Joe's usually good at reading anyway because obviously during the week Joe can read a lot more than I can. But hopefully this time we'll be on a level playing field, won't we? Yes. We can read at least 2 each, I'm assuming. Yeah. Then I've come to like week 2 and Joe goes, "Can I'm on book 7?" And I'm like, "I'm only on book 2." No, I've read. No, I'm exaggerating. I'm on book 7, and I'm like, "What?" But I work 40 hours a week in a very difficult job, which is quite admin-y anyway. But we're looking at 2 books each. I think we can hold it to 2 books each.
I think so.
Yeah. The only thing I do have coming up that I'm busy for is, she's always laughing at me, I told you, is on Saturday. The 4th of November I am going to the Abervoyge concert in London, but I am going there and back in one day, so I'll have the Sunday then to relax and rest and to just sit and read. That's all I'll be doing, so hopefully I'll have the book ready to start to go, and we'll have decided what book one will be.
Well, next Wednesday I'm off to Newport. Hi Pam! Because I'm going to see Cats in Space again
for the 100th time.
I might actually ask if I can go on tour with them. I might as well. And I'm going to see a Meatloaf tribute. And the following week, Robert Plant. Yay!
I don't.
Do you ever heard of Led Zeppelin?
Yeah.
He was the lead singer of Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, but I was only born in 1990, Joe.
Yeah, I know. Well, Led Zeppelin have been going forever.
Never heard any. I couldn't name a song, to be honest. So I don't know.
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, I don't know the words.
Well, but you know the song.
No.
Not off by heart, but you've heard the song.
Yes.
Right, Robert Plant.
Okay. She's going to see Robert Plant. Couldn't put a face to the name, but yeah.
Well, I'll Google him.
So now we're going to decide on what books to read for November, and Joe will let you know on Facebook, I'll let you know on Instagram, and obviously if you've got any questions or any recommendations for books as well, put them down below,
please.
And we can pick them up maybe in week 2 or in the middle of the week, in the middle of the month. For
in the middle of the week, yes.
And we're also going to decide this month what we'll be reading for December, because I've already seen a couple of books that I want to read for December.
Oh right, okay.
And I've saw them on a deal, so maybe if we get them, we can get a couple each.
Okay.
But yeah, we've got we've got a couple of hours now to really discuss what we'll be reading, so we'll let you know, guys. Take care, have a good November, hope you've had a good October and a spooky Halloween. Bye! Anytime I make a blooper or a mistake, obviously I'll put it at the end so you can all laugh at me because she already does anyway. Okay, let me just get at my notes. I'm trying to have a skim reader then so I don't have to keep looking at my phone.
Said just let me get up my nose.
No. Oh God, she scares me then. The only thing I do busy. The only